Okay, respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum. That's a very good day. Let me welcome you in another very interesting topic, and that is, you can say, what are the very essential neutral influence tactics. Neutral is a kind of, why I'm using the word neutral, that is, sometimes you may observe that these are having some positive effect, and equally they are going to lose some negative effects too. So if you implement these things with good intention, these tend to be positive. If implemented with bad intention, definitely you are going to have some serious negative organizational consequences. First, very interesting, and that is my favorite, that is you can say ingratiation. So what is ingratiation? That is you can say, for example, if you are a manager and you would like to assign a particular task to somebody in your department, and you normally believe that if you are going to straight away assign the task to the individual, the person is going to resist. Why? Maybe the person is not you can say free at the moment, or maybe the person is already preoccupied. So you use this ingratiation technique. How is this happen? In fact, you take place in this way, that you are going to call that person and you are going to appreciate that person, especially his or her or their past year performances. And when the person is fully, we can say, pleased for that, and then you call that person in your office and you simply, with very polite note, you simply explain the task. Okay, I would like to assign this task to you. And then definitely the person is highly ingratiated. How? Because you have already appreciated the person or his efforts or their efforts or her efforts in front of a number of people. Then later on, if you are going to assign the task, if the person is going to say sorry, then definitely it will have a very negative impression of the person in front of the audience. So that actually the person is ingratiated. So definitely, if you are going to take it a very positive manner, then definitely it will serve as a, you can say, well-deserved flattery or compliment. But in a negative way, definitely acting like you look like you behave like a person, that you are very generous to the person, but in practice, in reality, you are not. So it will have a very serious negative consequences on the organization context. Another very interesting thing, most of the time, if you would like to influence somebody, we normally observe that the top management of the leader, they use some kind of joke, and you can say laughing off the bad news. So the very bad news, they use some buffer, and in a kind of joking sense, they try to explain the very different, very hard news for that. Similarly, upward appeal, co-opting, antagonist. Co-opting is a very simple organization context, and in organization context is a basic fundamental concept. Co-opt. Co-opt means, for example, if there is a chief financial officer and the second one is the HR head or director HR or chief HR officer, whatever the name you are assigned, that for example, if the CFO would like to work accordingly, and the HR head is observing some kind of problems in the organization context, so definitely they would like to identify those people who are having a very high rate of resistance for in order to normally, which may hamper your successful implementation of the organizational objective. So you would like to get that person on your board with you. Definitely this is a central concept of co-opting. Co-opting in the central idea, and the central idea is that you take those people with you in your team whom you observe that they are going to resist later on. Okay, this is a kind of technique. So winning over opponents by making them part of the team or giving them a stake in the system. So this is another very influence tactic. Most of the time it does not work, but practically this is quite useful technique too. A very important, you can say, a kind of concept that is known as Machiavellism. In fact, she wrote a book, a very old book, that was technically it was known as The Fosse, and in English translation that was DuBrin. And in fact, they talked about, okay, if you would like to lead the people, the leader must be ruthlessly manipulative. This is the central idea, ruthlessly manipulative. So gentle manipulation of the people and situation, that is faking behavior, lying to gain compliance, I might, and so on and so forth. So undue pressure, debasement, these are the things. Anyway, so in this session we briefly talked about some ethical or some dishonest and ethical behavior or tactics. In the next video we are going to talk about with a new topic. Thank you very much.